Welcome to Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here in San Diego County, joined by David Alvarez. He is a councilman in the city of San Diego. What a beautiful city it is. And as a result of its beauty, many folks want to live here. And I want to speak about some of the folks that may come to live here, and we'll start with those that fall on hard times. Sadly, the number of homeless in San Diego County is spiking from 12th about 10 years ago in the nation to about 4th now. What are you seeing, sir, out and about in terms of the homeless population?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. We are seeing a spike. Our numbers now are at about 10,000 homeless in San Diego. It is a huge number. Certainly people want to come to San Diego. Everybody knows about the weather. Everybody knows that we have, on average, 7 days of rain in the year.
Right, which is another story that we may want to address, but the lack of water, but continue.
Right, and so because of the weather, and we don't have severe summers or winters, it's a natural place that people want to go to try, even if you're homeless.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the reasons why people get attracted to San Diego. And we are dealing with another issue that's more of a statewide issue, which is a housing crisis.
Right.
And there are people that are being priced out of their homes, families with children. We also have individuals who still are on the streets living with mental illness or some sort of issue with their health that they need to deal with.
And let's talk about those with mental health issues, because for so long we really didn't know how to handle the homeless. For a long time we criminalized homelessness. I think the pendulum is swinging back toward treating them more humanely. But look, there are some homeless that are what we call service resistant. They're not interested in getting services. I mean, can we require them? Well, 72-hour holds, what does that do for you? So talk to us about how in San Diego you're working for those that do want services to get them into services, and those that don't, how do you address that?
Yeah. So the focus that we're taking on those who do want services, because you're right, there are separate populations, we are taking a housing first model approach.
And explain that.
Absolutely. It's where you ensure that individuals have a stable place to live, a roof to live in, that is not a shelter, it's actually housing. It's an apartment, a micro apartment, or a unit for them or them and their family. And you want to stabilize that situation, but not only do you give them housing, you give them the wraparound services that we know that this population needs in order to be successful.
And I think what's critical to the housing first model, if I may say, is sobriety is not demanded upon entry into the program.
Right.
And you essentially said it, let's stabilize them. Then we can work on sobriety.
Right.
Then we can work on drug treatment, if that's one of the challenges they face.
You take people at where they are. The only thing is they have to be willing to accept support and services. And if you're able to accomplish that, that's really a big win, because that means that they have some stake in the game, and that means it's worth the investment, because it's a huge investment with that population.
I want to talk about housing, because you mentioned the fact that there are folks that want to live in San Diego or otherwise, and they are not able to because they are simply being priced out of the market. As I flip through my pages, what I wanted to mention is that literally, when you think about the state of California, especially coastal communities, we don't have enough housing for those that want to live in this state, and the housing that we do have is simply too expensive.
Right, and you're probably very familiar with the Legislative Analyst Office report that talked about the California problem, which San Diego is certainly a part of that. And it's a lot of the coastal cities, really that's where the problem really is significant, although just saw data this week that even in the Central Valley, in the areas that used to be relatively affordable, are no longer affordable either. And part of the problem is that we're not building enough. It's not an affordable housing problem alone, it's housing affordability.
I'm so glad you said it that way, because we can talk about affordable housing, which is a term of art for low income folks.
Subsidized.
But then there's housing that is affordable for everyday you and me.
Exactly, and people sometimes think you and I, we make a lot of money. That's not the case, right? The average Californian, middle-class Californian is being priced out of the housing market, and that is because we do not have enough housing. We have essentially reached zero base unemployment.
Right.
There's unemployment, but everybody that's looking for a place to work essentially has it in California, which means if we want to grow our economy, you're going to have to be able to provide a place for people to live. For people who want to move to the cities or to other parts of California, bring their talents, bring their skill set so that our economy can thrive, they're not going to want to come if they don't have a place that they can afford to live.
So what can we do in terms of creating both housing that is affordable and affordable housing? I mean, as you know, Governor Brown this summer tried to push through a plan that would have offered low-income housing subsidies if local governments like San Diego would have stripped some of the regulatory hurdles. Local government didn't like that, so that plan didn't move forward. We're really in a tough spot.
Well, what I'll say is that there's some people in local government who don't see it that way. I don't prescribe myself to those individuals. I think part of this is generational. As a younger person in political office, I tend to obviously be around younger individuals who are struggling to find a place to live. And so it's more real for people my generation and younger who are coming out prepared or who have talents that they can give to our state and our economy, who might not be able to do that because they're going to go find a place to live and maybe raise their family into the future. So it might be a generational thing, which I think the governor is forward thinking in that. And it's also a lot of folks who don't want to see change in their communities, and that's what it comes down to. And I'm one who believes that in order to make certainly San Diego a greater place to live, but all of California a wonderful place to live, you've got to give opportunities for future generations, for people, for talent to come and stay in California.
So a few years ago, if a city or a county wanted to develop more affordable housing opportunities, they could turn to a tool that was known as redevelopment. And the way redevelopment worked is once an area was deemed a redevelopment zone, the property tax base would be X, and then any property tax growth above that would be the increment, and that money could be used for the zone to incentivize developers through affordable housing, eliminating blight.
And let's explain why that was.
Please, sir.
And I can do that because I represent a community where there was a lot of brown fields. Development is expensive sometimes. The reason why there hasn't been development on a lot of vacant lots and a lot of areas is because it costs a lot of money to go and remediate, clean up the site in order to build and keep the prices at a level that are affordable or our market rate. And so that's why you needed the tool of redevelopment and the financing assistance, because some of those areas would never get redeveloped unless you had an incentive and some help.
But you spoke in the past tense because there is no more redevelopment. The governor, as part of his plan to get through the budget crisis of yesteryear, eliminated redevelopment. Eliminated completely.
Well,
there were 500 almost redevelopment agencies, and the California Supreme Court said, yes, you can do that.
Well, and we like to, say that the governor did that, but the legislature gave him the authority,
fair enough,
right?
Fair enough. No, I mean, there's plenty of fingers
proposal,
to point. I remember someone saying it was a program that benefited Republicans that was killed by a Democrat. But be that as it may, there have been rumblings about bringing redevelopment back in some capacity, and a lot of focus on affordable housing. What do you think? Do you think we may see some redevelopment reappear?
I think it was certainly probably not during this governor's tenure,
Really?
but you are seeing some incremental approaches focused around sustainability and transit, which is really where it makes sense. We need to build housing in areas where people are going to utilize different alternative modes of transportation to get to and from centers of employment. Locally, we actually have some authority. People forget. Redevelopment money used to go to the project areas and it'd stay there, right? The tax increment. Now it's being dispersed to counties, to schools, and guess who else? The city actually gets quite a bit of money. In our case, 17% of that money coming back to the city of San Diego.
You'll come back to talk more about this?
Absolutely.
Okay, he is David Alvarez, member of the San Diego City Council. Brad Pomerance here, local edition.